Insane twist, Millionaire mocks black girl's waltz, but then she dances to victory at 3 a.m. The night air crackled with tension. It was 3 a.m., and the echoes of laughter pierced through the silence of the abandoned park. Under the flickering streetlights, a crowd had gathered, their breaths held tight in anticipation. A glimmering black limousine stood ominously nearby, its windows tinted like a monster lurking in the shadows. Jared, the millionaire, leaned against the car with a smug grin, arms crossed, eyes glinting with disdain as he watched the small girl twirl and stumble, her dress a kaleidoscope of colors fluttering in the moonlight. "What's this? A joke?" he scoffed, infusing the air with his arrogance. The whispers followed him, shaking their heads in disbelief. How could anyone mock a child dancing like that? But there was something mesmerizing about her, despite the stumbles. Her eyes, wide and fierce, sparkled with determination. The atmosphere was thick with uncertainty, and an unexpected twist brewed in the air. It was the kind of suspense that makes the heart race. What would happen next? Around them, the crowd grew restless, exchanging glances. What did they all expect? Gasps escaped lips, creating a symphony of surprise and anticipation. This girl, barely 10, danced with the urgency that reminded everyone of forgotten dreams. Slowly, the rhythm emerged, and a beat drummed in the background, igniting her movements. Was it confidence or sheer desperation? Every shaky spin seemed to echo a deeper story, a narrative bending under the weight of the cruel world she faced. The millionaire gawked, disbelief morphing into intrigue. "Simon, show us what you got," he jeered, waving his hands dismissively. But the girl, unfazed, tightened her fists. The crowd stirred, they felt it too, an electrifying charge coursing through the air. The girl began to dance like no one was watching, her body flowing with grace, defying the world around her. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. And just like that, the night shifted. A hush fell over the crowd, eyes wide, mouths agape. Jared's grin faded, morphing into a tight-lipped frown. Was that contempt still etched on his face, or was it fear? The unexpected was happening right before them. Every twist brought the girl closer to a climax, an almost supernatural presence radiating from her tiny frame as the stakes climbed higher. The whispers grew louder. What was she going to do? Defeat this titan of wealth with the power of her dance? The mystery thickened, and the tension coiled tighter, leaving everyone breathless. What would Jared do next? Would he take a step back, or would he try to crush her spirit once and for all? As the final notes of her dance echoed into the night, a spark lit in her eyes, filling the air with a promise that something monumental was about to unfold. It was only the beginning. The crowd buzzed like a live wire. Whispers crackled, overlapping, each word a mix of disbelief and admiration. Jared's eyes narrowed in anger, but he couldn't tear his gaze away from the girl, whose dance had shifted from an awkward shuffle to a display of raw emotion. Every movement dripped with passion. The earth beneath her small feet seemed to pulse with a rhythm only she could hear. Is this some kind of a sick joke? Jared barked, trying to reclaim control of the situation. His bravado felt shaky, as if he wasn't just talking to the girl but to the crowd that had begun to back her. They closed in tighter, unity forming in the flickering shadows. This wasn't just about dance anymore, it was a standoff. The girl's breathing quickened. In that moment, she wasn't merely a child, she was a force. She felt the weight of every eye upon her, a blend of curiosity and challenge. With a sudden breath, she pushed through the growing tension, her tiny body defying gravity in a leap that sent her upwards like an angelic spirit soaring into the night. Gasps cascaded through the crowd. The moonlight caught her glimmering sequins, and for a heartbeat, she seemed to shine brighter than any star in the sky. It was as if time had stopped. The laughter from moments before was replaced by an intense, silent awe. Jared's lips twitched into a sneer that was only half formed. He stepped forward, fingers twitching, almost as if he wanted to grasp this moment and crush it. Get off the ground. You think you can entertain us? Is this really your best shot? His voice dripped with mockery, but a flicker of uncertainty danced in his eyes. The girl, undeterred, locked eyes with him. They were two worlds colliding in a fever pitch of emotion. She could feel the tremors of the crowd behind her, their energy feeding her fire. She closed her eyes for a fleeting second, inhaling the scent of damp earth and drama, and then exploded into motion. With each twirl, she weaved a spell, the music swelling, filling every inch of the dark space around them. She moved faster, each step tailored to the heartbeat of the crowd. If they could see it, she wanted them to feel it. Hope, pain, longing, she poured her soul into every gesture, solidifying her presence in the void. The spectators gasped again, drawn in. Jared felt cornered, and his bravado began to shatter. This is ridiculous. He spat out, but even his words were lost against the power of her dance. Then, she ended her final move on her knees, arms stretched wide as if to embrace the very night itself. The silence that followed was deafening. No one dared to breathe, every eye was glued to her, hearts pounding in unison. What did they expect now? Would she win? Jared's smirk was fading, confusion etched into his features. The balance had shifted, and with it, the atmosphere filled with crackling energy that no money could buy. Suddenly, from the shadows, a mysterious figure emerged. Tall and cloaked, they stood at the edge of the crowd, their presence commanding attention. Gasps echoed once more as the stranger glided toward the makeshift stage. Enough of this nonsense, they said, voice smooth and chilling. Curiosity and fear swirled, a mix of emotions tangling the air like vines. Who was this person? What role would they play in this unfolding drama? The girl remained still, breathless, caught in a tableau of uncertainty and possibility. The next moment could change everything. What power did this figure hold? As the tension stretched thin, the crowd held its breath in anticipation for what would unfold next. The cloaked figure stopped just in front of the makeshift stage, shadows concealing their features. The crowd recoiled slightly, a collective instinct to retreat from whatever darkness radiated from them. Jared stepped back, his bravado evaporating, replaced by a palpable unease that rippled through his body. There was something unsettling about this presence, an air of authority that made the hair on the back of his neck stand on end. The figure raised a hand, fingers lightly brushing the edge of their cloak, and the murmurs faded to a whisper. You've all been entertained enough by this, child's folly. The edge in their voice cut like glass. The girl, still kneeling, felt the tension ratchet up. Her heart raced. This was her moment, but now the ground shifted yet again beneath her. From the deep shadows, the figure leaned closer, the moonlight revealing only a glint of something sharp, perhaps a dagger or an ornate blade, glinting ominously. It's time for a real performance. The crowd gasped, unease washing over them. Could this be a threat? Or something more? What game was being played? Every heartbeat echoed in the girl's ears, and she forced herself to remain steady. No one asked for your opinion, Jared shouted, trying to assert control. His bravado only highlighted his fear. The crowd flickered between discomfort at his aggression and renewed curiosity about the cloaked figure. Why don't we raise the stakes? The figure murmured, turning their gaze like a predator sizing up its prey. If she wishes to entertain, let us see if she can truly captivate. The crowd held its breath, uncertainty binding them in place. How? Someone whispered, the question hanging heavy in the air. No music, no rules. Just the raw essence of what she feels. Jared's brows knitted together, a mix of anger and trepidation. You can't be serious. The girl is just a girl. The figure interrupted, voice cold as ice. The dark gaze returned to the girl, who felt a rush of vulnerability mixed with indignation. She wasn't just a girl. She was a dancer, a student of movement. And now, she had a choice, to back down or to ignite the fire burning inside her. She felt the heat of the spotlight, the night air crackled, every crack of electricity pulling her deeper into the moment. Dance without fear, the cloaked figure urged, their tone impossibly calm. Or remain lost in the shadows. The girl swallowed hard, her body almost trembling. No music? This was madness. Would anyone understand? Would anyone feel what she felt? For a heartbeat, doubt slithered into her mind. What if it turned into a disaster? What if she froze? But as she looked out over the sea of faces, she saw it. It was there, in their eyes, the flicker of hope, the hint of support. This was why she danced, not just for herself, but for them. She willed herself to rise, each inch like climbing a mountain. With a swift breath, she stood, every nerve ending alight with purpose. Closing her eyes, she drew on the heartbeat of the earth beneath her feet, feeling the rhythm inside her pulse along her limbs. The crowd watched, a moment suspended in time, a fragile silence demanding she reclaim her voice. Jared's confusion mirrored the stillness, but the girl's determination was a raw force. She opened her eyes, locking them onto the cloaked figure. Then, she began to move, each step was a rebellion, a surge of energy flowing from her body into the ether, forging an uncharted path. Her movements were fierce, frantic, yet somehow filled with grace, connecting with something greater as she danced for her place in the world. Suddenly, the air vibrated with something electric, grabbing everyone's attention as the first few spectators dared to clap. The rhythm picked up, urging more and more to join. The cloaked figure remained impassive, watching, judging. But would her dance truly captivate them? Would it save her? As the crowd lost themselves in her rhythm, one question loomed larger with each move: what was the true cost of defiance? What price would they all pay when the final note hung in the air? The girl danced on, unaware of the ramifications preparing to unfold as she poured every ounce of her heart and soul into the performance. As the girl danced, the air thickened with tension. She could feel the weight of the crowd's expectations pressing down on her shoulders. Each movement flowed from her core, each twist and turn echoing the anguish and joy that had shaped her life. She was no longer just a girl, she was a force, an expression of hope woven through the fabric of uncertainty, but as she swayed and leaped, the cloaked figure's presence loomed larger. They stood like a dark sentinel, their gaze unyielding, piercing through the veil of her confidence. Something in their posture suggested they were not merely spectators, but rather a harbinger of chaos on the edge of erupting. The clapping grew louder, a rhythm counterpointing her own, but it faltered when the cloaked figure raised their hand again. Enough! Their voice cut through the crowd, halting applause and breaths in unison. The energy shifted, and the girl's heartbeat accelerated. What now? With a sudden smirk, the figure drew back the cloak to reveal a figure that sent shockwaves through the gathering. Beneath the dark fabric lay not just authority, but also a familiar face. It was an old acquaintance of the girl, Margot, once her mentor, now transfigured under the dark shadow of something much larger. Is this your true talent? To dance for praises from the ignorant? Margot's words dripped with disdain, cutting through the hope the girl had kindled. Gasps filled the air, and for a moment, even the girl faltered. Margot, once her guiding star, was now a symbol of her deepest fears, the fear of inadequacy, of betrayal. Did she truly believe that? Had her past mentor turned against her, but the girl's resolve hardened. You taught me to dance without fear. She shouted, letting every bit of her pain spill onto the stage with each breath. You taught me to express who I am. Margot's eyes glinted with a dangerous mixture of pride and spite. Oh, is that right? Then prove it. Show them what you really have, and if you fail, The pause stretched thin, an invitation cloaked in menace. You'll wish you hadn't begun. The crowd shifted, caught in the tumult of uncertainty as whispers erupted like flames licking the night sky. It was no longer just a performance, it felt like a battle, and Margot was the battlefield's judge. With that, the girl inhaled deeply, feeling an entirely new rhythm pulse through her. Anger, determination, and a surge of energy coursed through her veins. She wasn't just dancing for herself anymore, she was dancing for everyone who had ever been dismissed, judged, or shamed. This time, her movements transformed, they had a sharper edge, a fevered clarity. She flung her arms wide, incorporating wild spins, each step a defiance against her old mentor's taunts. The crowd caught fire, clapping faster, urging her on with every unpolished note of her raw performance, but just as she thought she had the momentum, something unexpected happened. The ground beneath her feet trembled, and the chill of foreboding gripped her heart. The cloaked figure, still watching, slowly transformed into a darker specter as shadows twisted and darted around them like a storm brewing. Is this your kind of defiance? Margot spat, her voice tainted with disdain, eyes narrowing in challenge. With every beat of her heart, the dance intensified, spiraling into something primal, something reckless. The audience leaned in, rapt, desperate to see if she could truly rise from this new threat, but as she danced, she felt something shift within her. It was a flicker of doubt creeping back in. Could she conquer this shadow, both real and imagined? Could she survive the storm that Margot's words conjured? The girl's breath quickened, and just when she thought she must crumble, a new flame ignited in her spirit. Fight back, it whispered. Show them the strength of your heart, and more than that, your truth. With one fierce leap, she propelled herself into the air, defying gravity itself. The crowd gasped, and time seemed to halt as all eyes focused on her, every heart in the moment stacked with expectation. But as she soared, a sudden, tearing sound pierced the night air. What had she unleashed? In that instant of uncertainty, one haunting question floated above the chaos: would she land on her feet, or would the ground swallow her whole? The world seemed to hold its breath as she soared through the air, time dragging on, each heartbeat a drumroll of hope and dread. And then impact, she hit the stage hard. The ground trembled beneath her. A collective gasp swept through the audience like a gust of wind threatening to rip the very fabric of reality apart. Would she bounce back, or crumble into despair? Pain lanced through her leg, but somehow, she felt a rush of adrenaline, igniting a defiant spark deep within. The crowd sat, stunned into silence, and in that stillness, she heard Margot's mocking laughter echoing in her ears. Was this how her mentor wanted to see her? Crushed? No. Not like this. It was now or never. With gritted teeth, she rose to her feet, using the pain as fuel. The shadows around Margot twisted and writhed, almost alive, threatening to swallow everything in darkness. But the girl faced them, eyes ignited with fiery resolve. Energy surged, intertwining with a rhythm almost primal, a heartbeat that called her to fight. One hand on her hip, she let the other fly free. Her movements ignited the air, each tweak and twist sending shockwaves that tore through the crowd, igniting their hope anew. She began to blend her dance into a defiant declaration, pouring everything she had held inside into the very beat of the music. It transformed from mere notes to a battle cry. The whispers resumed, morphing now into roars of encouragement. Yes. Someone shouted. You're not alone. Just as Margot's smirk faded into disbelief, the shadows coiled and began to shrink back, as if recoiling from her bright spirit. The girl's dance echoed with every struggle she'd faced, every moment of doubt she'd conquered. The rhythm swelled as her movements intensified, like waves crashing against a stubborn rock. The fact that Margot had once taught her how to navigate life's turmoil felt like a cruel twist of fate, but she refused to accept defeat. Is this all you've got? Margot hissed, a hint of uncertainty creeping into her voice. The cloaked figure trembled, as if even the shadows were jittering in discomfort. With each twist and leap, the girl felt the audience's energy lift her higher. She was dancing not for Margot, nor for the crowd's approval, but for her own emancipation. She was an unstoppable force, her spirit like fire, burning brightly, and illuminating the darkness. Then came the climax of her performance. She spun, arms out wide, face tilted to the heavens, embracing every heartbeat that pulsed through her veins. It was at this moment that a thunderous applause erupted, drowning out the last remnants of doubt. As if recognizing her triumph, the shadows around Margot snapped back, falling into the insignificance of the night, but the cloaked figure remained. For a moment, it looked as though Margot might applaud, might even yield. But then the ground began to tremble again. The audience gasped, eyes wide, as shadows flickered back and forth, threatening to consume the girl once more. "Don't let this moment slip away," a voice cried out from the crowd. Each eye was glued to her, hearts in a collective tightening knot, holding their breath for what would come next. The girl took a step forward, defiance set in her eyes, heart pounding louder than the storm above. "This isn't over," she cried, lifting her chin high. "You may think you control the shadows, but they have no power over me." And in that very moment, she realized the truth. She didn't just dance to win. She danced to survive, to bloom in a world that might try to snuff her flame. But as she prepared for her final act of defiance, a dark rumble echoed deep within the shadows before it engulfed the stage. What lurked within the shadows? A new threat was about to emerge, and she would have to face it head-on. Would this be the moment where everything changed? The ground shook violently, and waves of darkness surged forward, thickening the air around her. The girl felt her heartbeat quicken, each pulse resonating through her body. This was no ordinary fight, it was a reckoning, a clash of light against deeply rooted shadows. Fear threaded through her, mingling with the burst of adrenaline, daring her to move. Margot's laughter faded, replaced by the sound of the shadows swirling in unmistakable menace. They coiled closer, a living entity that seemed to want to snuff out the flickering light of her spirit. The girl couldn't back down now. Not after everything she had fought for. "Embrace the chaos," she shouted, surprising even herself with the raw power of her words. Each syllable felt like an incantation, forcing the shadows back just a fraction. With a quick breath, she transitioned into a fierce sequence of spins that mirrored the tumult inside her. The crowd's energy peaked, their eyes wide with awe. "You can do this!" someone cried. Others joined in, a chorus of shouts piercing the air, igniting a fire within her. The sounds of encouragement wrapped around her like an armor, shielding her from the dark tendrils creeping ever closer. She channeled that energy into her movement. Every step crafted from determination, bold and defiant. Her leg, still pained from the earlier fall, became an anchor, grounding her in this moment where desperation transformed into strength. With each whip of her arms, the shadows flinched, as if they could feel her resolve. Suddenly, a loud crack tore through the atmosphere. The ground splintered, revealing a gaping abyss, black as pitch. From within, dark shapes writhed, swirling like a storm. The fear in the audience swelled, gasps and murmurs of disbelief rippling through them. A chill of terror swept across the stage. She hesitated only for a heartbeat, a flicker of doubt. But then, a powerful realization hit her: the darkness thrived on fear. It fed on the insecurities she once had. She was not a prisoner of the shadows, she was a fighter against them. "Show me what you've got," she yelled, her voice a beacon of defiance. And with that, she launched herself into a breathtaking crescendo of movement. Her feet danced over the trembling ground, weaving magic and rhythm, creating a tapestry of light bright enough to banish the dark. The shadows stirred with apparent intensity, but they faltered, pushed by the weight of her spirit. She moved in sync with the pulse of the crowd, drawing strength from them, channeling that fierce collective will. Yet just when it seemed she might be victorious, the dark shapes began to solidify. A huge, twisted figure emerged from the depths, towering and grotesque. Its eyes glowed red, a reminder of the looming danger and the darkness intent on crushing her spirit. Panic surged through the audience. They weren't just witnesses, they were part of the battle now. The girl could feel their energy wavering. "Don't look away," she shouted into the crowd. "We fight together." Then, with a final cry that echoed across the space, she pulled every ounce of power she had left and unleashed it in a final spellbinding move, a dance infused with every ounce of pain, every drop of sweat and tear she shed. The figure leaned in, darkness encroaching, but her movement was majestic, defiant, a beautiful rebellion stitched from the very fabric of her soul. The stage erupted with sound, and shadows quivered, caught in the conflict of creation and destruction. Could her final act of defiance shatter the darkness, or was this just the beginning of a far greater battle? As she locked eyes with the monstrous figure, tension cracked like lightning, and everything hung in the balance. What would happen when the dance ended? The figure loomed, its grotesque form dominating the stage, a dark promise of despair. It gaped down at her, a mouth opening wide enough to swallow her whole. The audience held its breath, captivated by fear. A cold sweat trickled down the girl's back as she felt its gaze piercing through her. But within her chest, an ember of hope flickered. It whispered for her to push harder. The shadows twisted around her, thickening like a fog. Each dance step felt like a battle cry. As she spun once, twice, she focused on the rhythm of her heartbeat, a steady reminder of why she fought. "Together!" she called out, feeling the crowd's energy surge around her like a living wave. The voices joined her in harmony, a chorus that shattered the tension. "Together!" With one final spin, she reached deep into herself, igniting every ounce of strength she had left. Her arms spread wide, radiating defiance. The figure froze. In that moment, the darkness recoiled as if her light was a scorching flame. Then she leaped, a jump that felt impossible, soaring above the abyss that threatened to consume her. Time slowed. She could see everything, the crowd's faces, the shadowy figure that churned with rage below. She was suspended in the air, a fleeting moment of clarity. And then she descended, feet finding the ground with a thud that echoed like thunder. The stage quivered, and in that resonating impact, familiar warmth surged through her limbs. Power surged, igniting the air around her. A brilliant light erupted from her feet, blasting into the shadows like an unstoppable force. The audience gasped, enthusiasm igniting anew as they felt the change. The air crackled with energy, the darkness finally trembling in the face of her spirit. "Yes!" The words tore from her throat, a determined shout that drowned out the shadow's roar. The light expanded, blossoming like a wildfire, pushing the darkness farther and farther away. Margot's laughter was gone now, replaced by raw energy that surged within her. But just as victory seemed within reach, cracks appeared in the ground, a warning not to be ignored. A voice, low and feral, seeped from the shadowed figure. "You think you've won?" It hissed, a sinister growl weaving through the chaos. "This is only the beginning." The ground trembled violently again, the abyss yawning wider, threatening to swallow anything in its path. Fear ricocheted through the audience, eyes wide with horror, shoulders tightening. "Hold on. We're not done fighting." The girl shouted, focusing everything she had into the light now pulsing around her. Nearby, she could see others rallying, their hands raised, their voices joining hers, a united front against the encroaching darkness. Faces she recognized, people who believed in her. A wave of warmth surged through, invigorated by their faith. At that moment, she realized her dance wasn't just about her, it was about them. Their hopes, dreams, and struggles intertwined with her every move. With renewed determination, she spun and twirled, each movement an act of rebellion against the shadows. The walls of darkness closed in, but her defiance lit up the stage, the crowd roaring louder. Yet, the whispers of the shadows curdled with an echo of dread. "You cannot escape your fate," they taunted, slithering through the exhilaration like a deadly venom. As she twirled again, she caught a glimpse of something in the abyss, glowing eyes, more than one, staring back at her, hungry and filled with malice. What were they? And what would they mean for the battle still to come? The stage shuddered violently as new shapes erupted from the depths, urging her to keep dancing, keep fighting. The darkness was far from defeated. An even greater storm loomed ahead. It happened all at once. The ground roared, fissures tearing open, releasing a swirl of smoke as the forms from the abyss clawed their way into the spotlight. Each movement was grotesque and fluid, a nightmarish mockery of grace. Fear clawed at the girl's gut, her breath hitching as she faced the ghastly crowd that had emerged from the dark. "Stay strong." The words thundered in her ears, a mantra she needed to clutch like a lifeline. The flickering light around her pulsed with an energy fueled by courage, and she fought to hold her ground. She could feel the warmth of her supporters' hands extending toward her, intermingling hope with dread. As the creatures surfaced, grotesque faces twisted in fury, the spotlight flashed against their slick forms, revealing what looked like distended bodies and gaping maws lined with jagged teeth. They were a reflection of her fears, fully formed and now marching toward her with confidence. The thrum of the crowd shifted, gasps rippled through the seats as they witnessed the madness unearthed. "No, no, don't back down," she screamed, urging herself and the others forward. There was no time for doubt. Rippling shadows curled like smoke as they surged closer, advancing with an unyielding hunger. With each step they took, tangible darkness slithered toward her, clamoring to consume her light. It was a promise of destruction, and she felt its icy breath on her neck. "Not today," she roared, drowning out the sounds of despair reverberating from the audience. It wasn't enough for her to just shine against darkness, she needed to embody a resolution that pierced through the chaos. She began to dance again, her feet pounding against the stage, each step like a drumbeat, resonating with the pulse of her heart. She twirled and spun, channeling her fears into fierce maneuvers, limbs wide and expressive. The shadows twisted, trying to snuff out her light, but she pushed back with everything her body could muster. Every leap and bound drew energy from the frenzied crowd, the growing harmony building around her until it became a wave she could ride. The twisted figures howled in dismay as the light expanded around her. It lit the stage like the dawn breaking the longest night, driving back the encroaching shadows. "We are together," she shouted. "Together." But then, just as she began to feel victory loom, something cold coiled around her ankle. A shadow creature had reached her, pulling her down. Panic surged, and she kicked, struggling against its grip. Yet, the more she fought, the tighter it squeezed, and her light flickered. "Help!" Panic edged into her voice, raw and frantic. Could she lose it all now? In a near blur, people surged forward from the crowd, extending hands. "You can't give in," a voice called out, clear and firm. She recognized it, another dancer, the one who had once taught her. At that moment, something within ignited anew. A fire surged from her core, fueled by collective faith. Their hands clasped around her, solid, unwavering. It was an infusion of strength that coursed through her, mingling with the wild light that flared anew. With one fierce motion, pushing against despair, she broke free from the shadow's grasp, spun away, and felt the surge of renewed power. "We will not be silenced," she cried, voice raw, but resolute. Suddenly, the shadows seemed to waver, flickering as if in reaction to her indomitable spirit. From the rear of the stage, one shadow bigger and darker than the rest shifted. It towered above them, eyes gleaming with malice, and in that dooming moment, the girl understood, the true battle was just beginning. What else lay hidden in the darkness? And who would stand with her when the storm truly broke? The colossal shadow loomed like a nightmare made flesh, its presence sending shockwaves of fear through the audience. Heartbeats synchronized into an anxious rhythm, every spectating face a mirror of dread and disbelief. The crooked smile on the creature's twisted visage suggested it fed on terror, vanishing any semblance of hope. As the girl faced this monster, a weight pressed on her chest, her breathing shallow. "I want to let you win," she whispered, though the words felt small against the enormity of the threat. The shadow shifted closer, the stage trembling beneath its feet. With a guttural growl, it lunged forward, snapping its jagged teeth in a chilling display of power. Instinctively, she raised her arms, channeling the collective will of her supporters, the dancers cramping in the wings, all holding their breath as they watched her encryption of courage. Not now. She found her voice again, brushing aside doubt like autumn leaves. She danced, this time not just to fight, but to reclaim everything they had been robbed of: freedom, joy, identity. Each step was a statement. Each spin was a declaration. The stage lit up, becoming a battleground where her spirit clashed with the beast of despair. Her feet struck the ground with ferocity, thundering like a war drum, harmonious with the pulsing heart of those around her. She felt their hopes rising with hers, a vibrant force pushing against the weight of the dark. Suddenly, she remembered something her teacher had said, a lesson about not just overcoming, but transforming fear into strength. A wild tango with danger. The shadow gave a monstrous roar, shaking the rafters and rattling souls. It lunged again, but this time, she was ready. With a fierce leap, she twisted away, channeling every ounce of her will into the performance. The spectacle transcended dance, it was a rebellion against the terrifying grip of the dark. But then, the ground split as another wave of shadows flooded the stage, a chaotic tide threatening to overwhelm her. Panic surged anew. Could she keep this up? Would it ever end? Breaths faltered, hope shimmered on the edge of extinction. "I need you!" she cried out, her voice a piercing spear through the cacophony, stitching together the frayed bonds between her and the crowd. More hands reached across the space, each one a lifeline as she dove into the surge of humanity, through the light of their shared spirit. It was a dance not just for her own survival, but for every soul in the audience. The shadows faltered for the first time, their malicious resolve distracted. Hope shimmered brighter, igniting an unexpected resilience in the faces of her supporters. "Dance with me," she called, inviting them to join her, weaving their energy into a breathtaking fabric of defiance. Suddenly, as they moved in unison, a brilliant burst of light erupted, momentarily illuminating the dark creature. It screeched, a horrifying sound echoing through the hall, faltering under the radiant wave of shared strength. But it would not be enough to defeat it entirely. She could see its eyes narrowing, calculating its next move. Just as the dance reached its fever pitch, shadows coiled back, less monstrous now, but chaotic, swirling in confusion around her. What was its intent? The girl felt a shift, a moment's calm settling over the stage. Was it reconsidering its attack, or plotting something worse? In that heartbeat of silence, questions loomed larger. Was this creature truly beaten, or simply waiting for its moment? The greatest challenge might still lie ahead, buried within the very shadows it commanded. What would happen when the final battle came? Would her light be enough to pierce through the gathering storm? The crowd was a tidal wave of restless energy, each face aglow with anticipation as the girl danced her heart out, united with them. Their voices rose, a symphony of support that pierced through the ominous darkness surrounding her. She felt every hand, every heartbeat, melding with her rhythm. It wasn't just a performance, it was a profound connection, a plea that rang out loud and clear. Together, they would rise. The monstrous shadow lurched again, but now it felt different. It seemed to sense the strength radiating off her, the light growing more unwavering with every beat. It roared in anger, muscles contracted, as if recoiling from the warmth of hope that began to fill the air. But the girl wouldn't let fear take root within her heart. No more. She had transformed every insecurity, every doubt, into her dance, and it would not go unnoticed. "Keep dancing," someone shouted from the front, a familiar face wrapped in fervor. And that was all it took. Her steps grew bolder. She spun and leaped, arms wide open, embracing the raw energy bursting forth. Her spirit soared higher and higher with each beat, a rhythm defying the dark that threatened to reclaim its hold. But even as the darkness ebbed, a sudden realization washed over her like a sharp wind. This shadow, this twisted figure of despair, was fueled by her own fears. It was a manifestation of everything she had avoided, everything she had allowed to dim her light in the past. Could she confront it not just in a battle of strength, but in the stunning silence of acceptance? In that moment of clarity, she knew what she had to do. She was not here to destroy this darkness but to redefine it. Drawing a deep breath, she summoned everything inside: joy, sorrow, memories of laughter and pain, each poignant moment forming an inevitable bond with the creature that loomed over her. With every movement, she danced toward the shadow, a performance not just for herself but for it too. "Join me," she called, her voice shaking the very essence around them. "You are part of my journey. I won't fight you, I'll embrace you." With open arms, she welcomed the shadow that rippled above her, its jagged edges tinged with uncertainty. The crowd gasped, confusion rippling through the gathering. But she felt it shift, the air grew warmer, the dark less threatening. With her heart pounding, she began to weave a dance that transcended fear, a movement that told a story of acceptance. She let the music inside her spill forth, planting seeds of light deep within every shadowed corner. The monstrous creature drew close, wariness glinting in its eyes. Something, was it curiosity? Quivered across its grotesque features. Together, she whispered, moving gracefully in a fluid embrace that sought harmony rather than hostility. The people behind her began to sway, joining the improvisational dance, turning chaos into a celebration of existence. The shadows shuddered and flickered as if grappling with her shift in energy. The more they moved together, the darker hues of despair lightened, transforming into an intricate tapestry of emotions. Grief gave way to acceptance, fear morphed into understanding. And then, just when the shadow's presence seemed to wane, it collapsed, swirling into a soft mist. Gasps burst from the spectators, and warmth flooded through the audience like the sun emerging from behind clouds. The edges of fear dissipated, melting away under the light of warmth and togetherness. The girl fell to her knees, heart racing, surrounded by applause, cheers, people leaping to their feet, shouting words of admiration for the unexpected revelation they had just witnessed. Her own breath was ragged, mixed with exhilaration and relief, as acceptance poured from her spirit into the space around. Jared, who had stood so defiantly on the sidelines, softened, his confused expression caught between disbelief and a growing respect. For a brief moment, they shared a glance that spoke volumes. They both had a past, but now it could be different. "You did it," came a voice from the crowd, a friend, someone she had danced with before. "You showed them all." Standing tall, the girl glanced once more at the spot where the monstrous figure had been, a reminder of the strength that lies not just in fighting, but in embracing who we truly are, even the shadows. As the crowd began to disperse, she took one last breath of the cool night air, feeling light inside, an echo of victory pulsating through her veins. That night, she had danced her fear away. Her heart whispered promises of what lay ahead: new beginnings, new dances. She was free. Now is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss any of the exclusive content that's coming soon. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep this community growing. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And for the real ones, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. The world deserves to feel this joy.